not true. I'm not going to get into it, and that's all I'm saying.
I don't think that helps.
What? Well, one of them's not true, and one of them could be. There's a lot. Listen, you just have to. I am somebody that keeps the focus on the ball. Joy Taylor, that's what I do. I'm a focus on the ball
Keep
guy.
your head in the game, Colin.
You know, I am so into, and not just because it's at Fox, I am so into tonight's game. Belichick humiliated Sean McVay.
Yep.
The Patriots are bizarrely successful this year. The Rams should win this game. In fact, this morning, I thought about this. If you put the top 10 players in this game, and this is not just Pro Football Focus, but it's Pro Football Focus grading, and who I believe are the 10 best players in this game at their position. Aaron Donald's number 1, Jalen Ramsey number 2. So those are the top 2 players. Best defensive lineman in the league, first or second best corner. Stephon Gilmore not having a great year, but I'd still respectfully put him 3. It's hard for me to separate Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. They're both excellent. I think Kupp's got more catches. Michael Onwenu, the rookie offensive lineman, has been a huge, shocking surprise for New England. Then I put the John Johnson, the third, the safety for the Rams, Darius Williams, the corner, right tackle Rob Havenstein. He and Shaq Mason are a coin flip. Most of their best players in New England are offensive line. But if you went to like wide receiver and the tight end groups, New England doesn't have a single wide receiver who could get on the field on the Rams wide receiver group. They don't have a single tight end. So in terms of running backs, Damian Harris is the only one I'd give any carries to. So in terms of wide receiver, running back, tight end, and the skill positions mean more than ever in the NFL, I would absolutely say slam. Damian Harris, running back for New England's the only player that could get into the rotation for the Rams, and Goff right now is a better quarterback than Cam, I believe. So if New England wins tonight, it's frightening. It is. New England doesn't throw the ball. Doesn't have an elite pass rusher. Chase Winovich has 3.5 sacks. Does not have a single go-to dependable wide receiver.
And the Rams' defense is incredible.
Incredible. The secondaries, I mean, it's incredible. If they win tonight, the league should just say, okay, we're going to disband, start over without Belichick because we can't compete. Greg Cosell joining me now live. He does every Thursday. If you bet football, it's fantasy football, you just love football. Greg Cosell joining me live, 41 years NFL films. So when I watch the Rams, and I've seen every snap because I live in Los Angeles, I've seen every snap. They're talked about a lot here in town. They always look kind of the same. It feels like a lot of motion, a lot of sets. They move Goff all over the pocket. I feel like I see the same 12 plays over and over. But when you look at film, are they the same team we saw a couple years ago in the Super Bowl?
In terms of what you said, in terms of sets and those kinds of things, yes, to a large degree. But I think the difference is this. When they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, Colin, the foundation of what they did was the run game and Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley was still great at that point, and Belichick structured his game plan, particularly his defensive front, to stop the outside zone run game and stop Gurley. The Rams are a little different offensively now. They throw the ball far more by choice. The foundation of their offense is not the run game. Do they want to run it? Of course they do. But it's not the foundation. And what they do a lot more of, which they did not do 2 years ago, is empty sets. They put Goff in empty sets. They spread the formation. The only other quarterback who's been in empty more than Jared Goff this year is Ben Roethlisberger. So they're a different offense than what they were when Belichick pretty much shut them down without an offensive touchdown in that Super Bowl. So we'll see. My guess is Belichick's approach will not be the same as it was in that Super Bowl.
Speaking of the Rams, the Giants were, I think, like 1-7, and Giants lost to the Rams. And I watched that game at SoFi, and I sat there, and I remember I came in the following Monday on the air, and I said, when one of the shows that week, and I'm like, boy, Giants, for a team with a bad record, they gave the Rams real physical issues. And I had somebody on, Mark Schlereth, recently said, a couple of these Belichick guys, Joe Judge and Brian Flores, they're confusing quarterbacks. They are confused, just like Belichick does. What do you see with the Giants that you like? Because they lead their division, and they have played for 6 weeks. They're a real football team.
Well, and you failed to mention Patrick Graham, who's the DC for the Giants, and he also has a Belichick pedigree. And what they do is they're so multiple with their fronts, and that's a Belichick thing, being very multiple with your fronts, not as multiple with your coverages, a little more coverage consistency, but they're very, very aggressive up front, a lot of pre-snap movement, a lot of what we call amoeba fronts, where there's no defender with his hand in the ground or maybe one defender with his hand in the ground. That makes it very difficult for the offensive line to identify 5 players that the offensive linemen are going to block. They don't really blitz a ton, and they don't play a lot of man coverage, but they're really difficult up front, and they're physical. They're really physical and competitive. And on defense, obviously, that matters. So they do a lot of good things tactically, and they really caused problems for Seattle last week.
A team that we said this when they were 2-7 and 3-7, the Giants are Miami, is that they're better than their record. They were bad for September and most of October, but this is a real football team with a bad record. And we said that when the Giants were bad. Miami last year started out like 0-8,
right,
but every week they got better. So Miami's going to play Kansas City and Mahomes. They've given every quarterback issues. What can they do against Mahomes?
And that is going to be fascinating to see what they do against the Chiefs, because Miami has played a lot of man coverage. They like to blitz, but keep in mind, Brian Flores was also on the staff in New England when they beat the Chiefs. And I remember a game in which they literally doubled Tyreek Hill on every single play. My guess is they might feel very comfortable with Eric Rowe, who's a big physical kind of hybrid corner safety. He's their tight end matchup. They could feel comfortable with him matched man-to-man on Kelsey and then take their chances with Hardman, Robinson. But we've seen what Bill Belichick has done. Flores was on that staff. So we'll see. This to me is one of the most fascinating unit matchups of the weekend, because the Chiefs bring so much firepower on the outside, and Kelsey is having an unbelievable year. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the best third down quarterback in the league. The Dolphins have far and away the best third down defense in the league. So there's so many dimensions and elements to this game on that side of the ball.
Taysom Hill. People compared him to Tebow, and my takeaway, he's a better athlete and a better thrower, but I never really viewed him as a franchise quarterback long term. He throws it a lot better than I thought.
Yeah.
How do you view him today opposed to a month ago?
Well, let's keep one thing in mind, Colin. Only one team this year gets a bye, correct? That's the way the playoffs are.
Yeah.
So he's not playing. This is not an audition. He's playing because Sean Payton believes he's the best quarterback on that team after Drew Brees. That's why he's playing. And last week against Atlanta, the second time they played them in 3 weeks, Sean Payton gave Taysom Hill more in terms of the route concepts, in terms of what they asked him to do in the passing game, and he threw the ball well. Now, it's 3 starts, so no one should make a judgment about his whole career, Colin, but certainly they're expanding him a little bit, and we'll see what happens this week against the Eagles. But I thought Taysom Hill threw the ball well last week. And in fact, one of the touchdowns he threw, the one to Jared Cook, was the exact same play, formation, play design, play concept, as Drew Brees hitting Jared Cook for a touchdown Week 8 against the Bears.
Wow. So I never want to overreact to Monday Night Football. It's the standalone game usually. Wasn't this week, but there's a history where
right.
people just overreact to Monday. It was hard to watch Josh Allen and not go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was as good a performance by any quarterback in any game I'd seen this year. That was what my eyes told me. What did the film say?
And I would agree with that. And there's you know what the reason is? We know he's got a big arm. We know he can move around. So what's the reason, Colin? Ball placement. Always the thing that people spoke about with Josh that concerned people ever since he came out of Wyoming. You and I believe, talked about it when he was coming out of Wyoming. And that was the issue.
Yep.
And his ball placement now, this year in particular, has been pretty much every week. I think one exception, but pretty much every week, his ball placement has been very precise. You know, I learned one thing in a conversation with Troy Aikman, who we both know years ago, and Troy told me, you can do everything right as a quarterback, but if you can't put the ball where you want to put